Set, nature, and Egyptian myth. I have been endeavoring of late to learn more about the civilization and religion of ancient Egypt. Before now, I had a sort of vague curiosity with regard to the Egyptians, but I had always thought of the subject as being a bit too exotic and somewhat outside the area of my needful knowledge. Then my interest was sparked by a few things at first, until finally I slowly came to realize that my love for researching the historical foundations of things was very frequently, in some way or other, happening to end up in Egypt. Another reason for my becoming interested in the ancient dwellers upon the Nile had to do with my belief in Satanism. I don't remember now when exactly it was that I learned of the god Set's identity with Satan. I had been a Satanist for a while, though, before I learned of this, and I'm sure I was probably surprised to hear of this, for you don't really, or at least I didn't, start in your worship of Satan with this knowledge of his origins. So, naturally, when I heard of Set as possibly being another earlier form of Satan, this made me wish to inquire further into the theory. Therefore, I was propelled into my newfound curiosity and desire to learn more about these ancient exotic people. Hey, if they worship Satan, or Set, and were the originators of such nifty things as pyramids, geometry, science, and cosmetics, they were probably my kind of folks. So, I started to read some into their history and beliefs. You know what? The more I learned of them, the better I liked these somewhat exotic and strange seeming people. They had a lot of the same likes and dislikes that I have. They were into nature and mind-bending organics, for starters. I found out that their gods were all mostly nature deities, that their temples, so magnificently huge, many I had never seen the exact like of before, with their enormous column porticos, obelisks, and pylons, were essentially sculptured gardens. The source model for some of their temple architecture was really amazing. Huge though they were, and made of stone, both columns and tops were sculptured flowers, lotus and papyri. The Greeks, who obviously borrowed this familiar object of building to produce the Corinthian, Ionic, and Doric orders, must have gotten their original ideas from these same temples. And then they were into a bunch other cool stuff like, for instance, physical elements, triangles, music, mummies, painting, amulets, cosmetics, mixology, beer nuts, magic, pyramids, sacrifices, idols, and some weird funky hats. Hell, I discovered you had to love these strange, fashion-aware, superstitious, and artistic mystical progenitors of the world. They were hippie before hippie was even thought of. But getting back to their religion, the gods the Egyptians believed in were a bit weird looking to Grecian eyes, but these same gods were also some cool heads. Take for example Horus, their falcon god of the sun. I found a painting of him sitting on a throne, being worshipped by a nubile female devotee who was wearing a sheer diaphanous slip over robe of a dress. The devotee had her hands raised in an attitude of admiration, and the god, with a falcon's head, sat before an altar upon which was a serpent libation vase.